Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. I hope you're having a great weekend, and welcome to A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. I'm your host, Tomas Garza, and I'm so happy to be joining you here today. We are in the midst of some really hard-hitting, really heavy-hitting, yet loving, because you can be both, of course, at the same time. Hard-hitting and loving ideas in the workbook for students. And we arrive today on this really beautiful Saturday on lesson 99. So this is a really beautiful idea. And the idea for today is salvation is my only function here. So let me preview that. Salvation is my only function here. And what I want to do is I want to just take a minute and thank you all for tuning in. This has been so much fun for me. I've been doing this live stream since January. So welcome to all of you who are watching on my personal Facebook page. I have been streaming this live to the page for a few weeks here now, and I just want to do it again. So I want to reach as many people as possible. So let me know where you're tuning in from. So this is fun. It's fun for me to know where everyone is from. So drop that in the comments today. Yeah. Where are you tuning in from here on a Saturday? And well, I say it's a beautiful Saturday. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, in the United States, where it's almost always sunny, which is a beautiful thing. So I do love that. And it's a sunny day. All right. So let's take a look at today's idea. And as the notes talk about, this is about forgiveness. Salvation is my only function here in the world. In other words, salvation is my only function here. So what is salvation? Well, it's forgiveness. This is the thought system of A Course in Miracles. It focuses, as you've seen, very heavily on the idea of forgiveness. And I'll spend some time today. We've spent some time on this live stream talking about what that actually is and what it is not, because that's a really important distinction. What we think of as being loving and forgiving here in the world is not necessarily so. This thought system is very different. It's a lot more profound, and this is one of its central tenets for sure. No question about it. So that is salvation, according to Workbook Lesson 99. According to the Course in general, it's what we're here to do, all right, is forgive. Now, what does that mean? This is a great question. So if you're asking yourself this, okay, well, there's so many things in my life that have been so egregious and abusive and wrong that I don't feel able to forgive those events. I don't feel able to forgive the people or the person that put me through that. Okay, that's absolutely fine. We bring what we have to the path of spiritual practice, and we work with it in the way that suits us best. Now, what is forgiveness according to A Course in Miracles? In other words, our only function here. According to the Course in Miracles, we're all one. Now, this is truth. This is true of all spirituality. No matter what form that may take, no matter what your practice looks like, this is the way that it actually ultimately is. In the world, we think of people as, well, transgressing against us. We think in terms of transgression and wronging us and sin and other concepts and ideas like that. They're just ideas that we made up as human beings. I mean, really, ultimately, they're just words, right? Representing an idea. And we think that people wrong us. Think of how litigious the world is. In other words, sue happy. Think of how many people are so hesitant to accept responsibility for their own actions and more than willing to hire an attorney and to place blame and to sue and to get everything out away from us, all of our negative feelings. Well, spiritual practice, as you know, is about integrating those. How do you do that? Forgiveness. Yeah. That's how you do it, right? You don't ignore everything. You forgive it. And people don't transgress against you. One of the things that I love about this philosophy, and that I've always loved, by the way, is that the Course sees people and every action that someone takes in the world, everything that someone says, everything someone does, the Course defines it either as an act of love, a loving act, or a call for love. It's one or the other. When we see a child or even a young person or even an adult misbehaving, we often say in common parlance, okay, this is a cry for help. Someone's issuing a cry for help. Same thing. It's exactly the same. It's a different way of saying it. It's a call for love. Egregious behavior is a call for love. It's either an expression of love or a call for love. That is the way A Course in Miracles presents it. I personally have found this a great relief and takes a lot of complication off of our plates. That is what we need, is for our lives to be less complicated. If spirituality is a mystery to you, if it is a great nebulous thing that seems foggy and cloudy and that you don't understand and you may never fully understand, or so you tell yourself, then how's it possible to have real certainty in the world, right? How's it possible to move forward and extend love and fulfill your purpose with conviction? I invite you to take a look at yesterday's live stream where we talked about accepting our plan, our role, our part in God's plan for salvation. In other words, the plan. In other words, stepping into your purpose here in life. You are not able to do that. We as human beings are not able to do that if we're running around confused. And literally, if we're dazed and confused, it's impossible to be certain of anything. And that's the situation that we find ourselves in the world. So there we issue calls for love, right? We have attack thoughts. We lash out at people. We do things that we sometimes immediately regret. And yeah, I mean, everyone has done it. We can all relate to identifying with the ego and acting accordingly. So in forgiveness, as it's presented in A Course in Miracles, people are either expressing love or they're issuing a call for love. So what is the appropriate response to a call for love? What is the loving response? Clearly, it's to extend love. Nobody needs a daily live stream to know that deep down. Nobody needs texts or courses or classes to identify that and to know it deep down. The response, the loving response to a call for love is to extend love, right? What else? Really, what else? Now, we all know that instinctively. However, we do need this live stream. It is 100% necessary in the world. A Course in Miracles is 100% necessary in the world. Your spiritual practice is absolutely critical in this world, so embrace it and follow it. On behalf of everyone, yes, please do that. Why is it so critical? Because we don't believe it. We don't believe the obvious right in front of us. In fact, it is us. We don't believe the truth of who we are. Enter forgiveness, where we're extending love. What are we doing? Well, we're recognizing that we've simply made a mistake. It's like a child waking up from a nightmare, really. And Lesson 99 in the commentary for today, which I encourage you to read, uses this analogy of a child being afraid of a toy, of a jack-in-the-box that pops out, scares them. Were you ever scared by a jack-in-the-box as a kid? Or were you ever scared by any of your toys when they did something unexpected? In other words, broke the rules that you'd set for them and disrupted your world. And it's the same thing as adults. We experience the same thing as adults And we have a choice of either reacting in Buddhism, as we call it, skillfully or unskillfully. Now, skillful reactions extending love. Yeah, it's forgiveness. What do we do? Well, the child that has set rules that the jack in the box isn't going to pop out, spring up, and scare it has simply made a mistake when he or she finds out that this thing pops out and startles you. It's a mistake. We've made mistakes. That is all. We have not sinned. God has no ego. I'll say this again. God has no ego. Perfect oneness. Love knows only itself, extends only itself, and God has no ego to be offended. God has no ego to be offended. What does this mean if you're following along and you're doing the verbal math, which I encourage you to do? You cannot sin. There is no such thing. Yeah. Does it sound like a bold statement? Perfect. It's the truth. It is a bold statement. So why not utter it? Yeah. It's impossible. It doesn't exist. Forgiveness, when we forgive someone, we're overlooking a mistake. We've simply made mistakes, a series of mistakes that has us in this situation where we're having separate experiences, running around, and we're appearing to suffer. By forgiving, we overlook a mistake that someone else has made. We overlook a mistake, and this is very important, that we ourselves have made. How many of you are more than willing to forgive someone else, but you're not willing to forgive yourself? Does that apply to any of you? I'll bet it does, right? It's common. So if that's you, don't worry about it, right? Please don't beat yourself up over any of this, is my message, because you have an opportunity right now to choose love. You have an opportunity to choose again. That is the present moment. That is why it is called beautiful. That is why it's called a miracle. A miracle. We have the opportunity to choose yet again. So what do? We choose love. In forgiving, we choose love. This is the way to peace. We overlook error. We overlook all errors that other people make. We overlook all errors that we ourselves have made. This is very, very important. That is why A Course in Miracles mentions it again and again and again. This is why a spiritual teacher mentions it again and again and again. Does not matter the tradition. So you may be saying, well, I have experienced some of these things. I've suffered through some of these experiences that you mentioned earlier. Maybe abuse, maybe a pattern of chronic and systemic abuse. That could very well be, right? You may have some people in your world whom you find easier to forgive than others. This is perfectly normal. If that's the case for you, no worries. I invite you to start where you are. Just that. You hear that in spirituality. Pema Chodron wrote a book that I love called Start Where You Are. And it's not just physical space, it's your mental and emotional space. We only have the present moment, so we have no other option in truth but to start where we are right now. What does this mean if you're not capable of forgiving someone who has radically abused you today? Don't worry about that. Nobody's saying you must do something that you're not ready or able to do. Timing really actually is everything with this. Start with the little stuff. Start by forgiving yourself for spilling your coffee on your white pants this morning and having to change. Maybe. Yeah, this is an example that I like to use. It's a good one. If you have a dog or a cat, maybe they went to the bathroom on the carpet today, and perhaps you had the misfortune of not seeing it and stepping in it. Yeah. Can you forgive the dog or the cat? Can you forgive yourself for that little act? Yeah. Every act of forgiveness, no matter how small, is monumental. A Course in Miracles says in many places that there is no order of difficulty in miracles. They're all just like one another. So forgiveness is beautiful if you're able to forgive someone who has abused you, or a historical figure that has murdered people, dictators, if you're able to forgive the world in general, mass worldwide political systems. You build up to what you can do. And the more you forgive, the more you release not just the other person, but yourself. And here's the beautiful thing about forgiveness as it's practiced in A Course in Miracles. According to this thought system, you don't have to call the other person up. Yeah, if you want to forgive your mom, let's say, for something that she has done to you or a pattern of systemic abuse. Yeah, I've suffered that. I know what that's like. And I also know what it's like to forgive that. And it is monumentally relieving and relaxing, and it's liberating. It's liberating. So if you're not able to do that, that's all right. Start with what you can and work up to it. All of spirituality is about making a habit. It's about acquiring healthy spiritual habits, just as one may do a wellness or nutrition program or a weight loss program, an exercise regimen to improve gradually their physical health. Spirituality, same thing. This is a tremendous tool. And in fact, according to the thought system of A Course in Miracles, it is the tool that we employ to make these massive changes in our lives. It's forgiveness. So naturally, you will be tempted, because we all have thoughts. We all need to be reminded. Happily, in almost every lesson idea in the workbook for students, there is some language in italics that we can recall. We can bring it back to our awareness, just as you would bring your awareness in a seated meditation back to the object of meditation. All of our lives are a living, breathing, waking meditation. If that helps you to conceive of it that way, it is. When you're distracted, bring your awareness back to the focus of the meditation. Today, let it be the idea for the day. Salvation is my only function here. And salvation and forgiveness are the same. Beauty of all of this, we're in control of this. We are the ones that get to make that decision, and our free will has never been stripped of us, even though we have ignored it. We have gone off and maybe played the victim and said, oh yeah, poor me. No, I don't have any choice. Yeah, it's all about taking responsibility for that choice, because we do have that choice happily. It has not been stripped of us, and it won't be, ever, ever. We can choose not to exercise it. Guess what? That's our choice, isn't it? So remind yourself of today's idea. And I've got a couple of streams up and running here. So let me say hello to all of you. And hi, Christina and Catherine, thank you. Kimberly, hi, how are you? Thank you all for tuning in here on Enlightened World Network. This is beautiful. And Kimberly, you're most welcome. I'm glad that you needed that message with start where you are. That's a beautiful message, isn't it? It's also a really beautiful book by Pema Chodron, the Buddhist nun from Nova Scotia. She's written a lot of things. And when I was studying Buddhism back in the 1990s and the 2000s extensively, I read several of her books. And that phrase just sticks, right? Start where you are. Where else are you going to start? Right? You can't start at the level of Buddha right away, right? People have come to meditation classes that I've led, and I know they wouldn't admit it, of course, openly, but I just know that they had in their minds, based on societal conditioning, the deeply unrealistic expectation that they were going to leave a 15 to 20-minute practice period fully enlightened. Now, if that happens to you, if you've had that experience, will you please message me so I can have you as a guest on our show? Please. All right. I mean, I would love it if the comment thread blew up right now with people saying, yeah, I did that. I mean, the reality for most of us is that's not going to happen in just one session. However, you never know when it will. So it's our responsibility to show up and to continue to play our part. This means forgiveness as much as you possibly can today. And hello, everyone else that's tuning in. Yeah. Well, Kimberly, yeah, you're most welcome. Thank you for tuning in. And hi, Fatima. Hello, how are you? Thank you for tuning in. And Cindy's watching here. Hello. Cindy's watching me from the next room, guys. There's a hallway behind me, behind these rugs, masks, and paintings. And then there's another office that's facing a beautiful swimming pool with flowers growing all around it. And that's where Cindy is. So welcome. Thank you for tuning in. And guys, if you have further comments or questions on this material, I love to share this with you. This is what I'm here to do, is to show up and teach and coach and mentor and share my experience with you. What am I aiming to do? Well, I'm aiming to simply show up and teach and lead and share this with you so that you may take the action steps that are necessary in your own life. It's what we're all doing. So thank you very much for tuning in today. Thank you for your comments and questions, all the hearts, the likes, the shares. If you love this, feel free to share this out. The Network Enlightened World Network has many, many beautiful programs, all of them devoted to universal spirituality, like A Course in Miracles. So check some of those out. And guys, I will be back here on this live stream on Monday. It's Memorial Day here in the United States, but I'm on anyway, because I love it. So everybody have a great weekend, and thank you for joining me. I'll talk to all of you very, very soon. Have a great day, everyone.